Absorbing the mind, an essential subject from Vinipedia. The mind is said to be our best friend or our worst enemy. Whatever the mind becomes absorbed in directs our feelings and actions, and eventually our next birth. The mind can lead us to repeated conditioned lives of birth, death, disease, and old age. Or it can lead us to the lotus feet of the Lord, engagement in His eternal service, and residence in His blissful, spiritual abode. The mind that is fully absorbed in material planning for sense enjoyment, overwhelmed in the whirlpool of matter, continues to be engaged in a material body. The mind that is absorbed completely in thoughts of Krishna by hearing and chanting His uncommon activities and the activities of His devotees becomes the perfect yogi. Through this practice of meditation, there is every chance of remembering Krishna at the time of death and regaining our spiritual body. Srila Prabhupada's books, lectures, conversations and letters offer a comprehensive presentation of this essential subject as seen in the Vinicotes absorbing the mind category. An introduction from his teachings is given below in the following 8 quotes. Quotes from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. The Lord, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramtm as well by dint of his superior spiritual energies. No one can reach the spiritual sky, Vaikuha, or enter into the Lord's eternal abode, Goloka Vindivana, without the proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansion VU. Therefore a person working in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yog, because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Bhagavad Gita 6.15 One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. After the mind is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, one can enter the planet known as Goloka Vindivana. To enter the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to understand Krishna. The process of understanding Krishna is devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29, 76-77 Maharya Parkayat wanted to absorb his mind completely in Krishna, and such absorption can be effected simply by hearing about the uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, in the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return home, back to Godhead, and never come back to this miserable condition of material existence. It is very auspicious, therefore, to hear always about Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1 1. Everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all the days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities, because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for material enjoyment, there is no chance of getting out from conditioned life or material bondage. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15 39. Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals and birds. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.11 55. For men, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Emta bindu apaniyatu. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Bhagavad Gita 6.5 The real thing is this meditation. You chant and hear. This meditation. Meditation means to absorb your mind in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is meditation, real meditation. In all the standard scriptures and in yoga practice formula, the whole aim is to concentrate one's mind in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is called samdhi, ecstasy. So that ecstasy is immediately brought by this chanting process. You begin chanting and hear for the few seconds or few minutes. You immediately become on the platform of ecstasy. Srimad Bhagavatam Lecture 23 June 1968 Montreal. If we do this, then our lives become successful without any doubt. But if we keep our minds always absorbed in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, then naturally at the time of death we shall think of such activities and again be forced to enter material, conditioned bodies to suffer the threefold miseries of material existence. Therefore, to remain always absorbed in Krishna consciousness was the standard of the inhabitants of the Nirvana, as exhibited by Maharayananda, Yad and the Gopas. Krishna Book, Chapter 46.